I want you to pause for a second. Right now. Just wherever you are, whatever you're doing, commuting, at your desk, whatever. Just listen.
Mm.
And I don't mean listen to me. I mean listen to the other voice.
Oh, yes.
The one that probably just said, what's he talking about? Or maybe, I'm late, I can't pause.
Boom.
Or, did I lock the front door?
The narrator. The constant companion that's always running in the background.
Exactly, the narrator. It's this stream of consciousness commentary that's just happening all the time, right alongside our actual lives.
Right.
It's the voice that's judging the weather, or criticizing how you parked your car, or replaying some dumb argument you had back in 2014.
Oh, definitely. And worrying about a meeting that's, 3 days away?
Yes, it's relentless. And, it's often invisible just because we're so used to it. But, and this is what we're getting into today, it is the primary architect of your reality.
It absolutely is. It's the filter. I mean, you don't really experience the world directly. What you experience is your narration of the world.
That's a huge distinction.
It is. And today, we're not just going to, acknowledge that this voice exists. We're going to pop the hood. We're doing a deep dive into Transform Your Self-Talk by Nick Trenton. And the mission here is really specific.
Okay.
We want to understand the actual mechanics of this voice so we can figure out how to, reprogram it.
And I want to set the stakes really early here, because I think when people hear self-talk, their eyes glaze over.
Yeah, they tune out.
They think, okay, here we go, positive thinking woo-woo. They think we're just going to tell them to, stand in front of the mirror and chant, I am beautiful, over and over again.
Until you magically feel better, which doesn't really work.
But Trenton's work and all the research he pulls together, it suggests this is absolutely not about fluff. This is about biology. This is about neurology.
That is the most critical distinction we have to make right from the jump. Thoughts are not just these abstract, ghostly things floating around. A thought is a physiological event.
What do you mean by that? A physical event?
I mean, it's an electrical impulse firing between neurons. It triggers a chemical cascade. When you have a thought, you are physically, tangibly changing the structure of your brain.
So if your self-talk is toxic, you're not just being hard on yourself.
No. You are physically wiring your brain for stress, for inflammation, for failure. You're building a house you don't want to live in.
That is a really heavy concept, the idea that a thought is a physical architect. So, okay, the roadmap for today. We're going to break down the anatomy of this voice, what it is, why it's even there. We're going to look at the mad science of the body schema, which I have to say I found absolutely fascinating.
It's wild stuff.
Then we'll get into the physiology, the actual chemicals involved. And then finally, we're going to open up the toolkit. We're going to walk through the specific, actionable CBT techniques that Trenton lays out to actually change the script.
It's basically a user's manual for the most complex and honestly most important machine you'll ever own.
Okay, but let's start with the basics, though, because there is a stigma. If I'm walking down the street muttering to myself, people are going to, cross to the other side of the street.
They absolutely are. We associate talking to yourself with some kind of instability.
Right, like the mad scientist archetype, the guy with the wild hair in the corner, just muttering formulas to himself, totally detached from reality.
Exactly. There's this deep cultural belief that talking to yourself is like the first sign of madness. But the reality is, and the science backs this up, talking to yourself is a fundamental part of human cognitive function.
So not doing it would be weird.
If you didn't do it, that would be the anomaly. It's how we process, plan, and regulate.
So doing it out loud is actually okay.
It's more than okay. It's
Yeah.
often a sign of high performance. You see it in elite athletes all the time. They're giving themselves instructions, encouragement. But for most of us, most of the time, the volume is just turned down. It's internal. But the mechanism is exactly the same. It's a feedback loop we use to process the world.
Okay, so Trenton categorizes this into 3 main buckets, right? And I think it's important to define them because we usually only notice the really loud ones.
That's right. The first one is the one we all say we want, but it's often the quietest. And that's positive self-talk.
The little angel on the shoulder.
That's the classic metaphor, yeah.
Yeah.
But I prefer to think of it more like a supportive coach.
Okay, I like that better.
Because it's not just blind optimism. It's not everything is perfect and wonderful. It's more like, I can handle this. Or if something goes wrong, it's, okay, that didn't work, but I know how to fix it.
So it's affirming, but it's grounded in your own capability.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Then, of course, you have the one that usually wants to drive the bus. Negative self-talk.
A prosecutor.
Mm-hmm.
Or the devil. Let's stick with the metaphor.
The devil, the critic, the prosecutor.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the voice that's pessimistic, that creates catastrophes out of minor inconveniences. It's deeply judgmental.
And it deals in absolutes, right? You always mess this up. You'll never get that promotion.
Always.
Mm.
It's the voice of fear, and it uses that very certain, very harsh language.
And then there's the third category, which I found really interesting because I think I just sort of glaze over it in my own head, neutral self-talk.
Right. And this is the bulk of the data stream.
So this is just the running log.
Yeah, it is Tuesday. The traffic light is red. I need to remember to buy milk. On the surface, it looks totally harmless. It's just objective reporting, right?
Seems like it.
But Trenton makes a really sharp point here. Neutral talk is almost never truly neutral. It usually carries a hidden subtext, a tone.
Okay, wait. Give me an example of that. How can "it is Tuesday" not be neutral?
Well, think about the tone of voice in your head. If you just state, "it is Tuesday," that's a fact. But if your internal voice sighs and goes, "it is Tuesday," what are you actually saying?
I'm saying I'm exhausted, I hate my job, and I can't believe I have to get through 3 more days of this.
Exactly. The words are neutral. The meaning, the emotional payload is deeply negative. It's like a Trojan horse for the inner critic.
Wow, that's so sneaky. So we might think we're just observing our world, but we're actually just coloring it with this gray brush the whole time.
Precisely. And then there's one more category, which is a bit of a subset. It's instructional self-talk.
This is the practical stuff.
This is the keep your eye on the ball stuff. We use it for motor control, for remembering processes, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty.
I still do that. I literally do that every single time I use a screwdriver.
We all do.
Yeah.
And that actually provides a perfect bridge into one of the wildest parts of the research Trenton talks about.
Oh, good.
The connection between what we tell ourselves, our internal story, and our literal physical body. The body schema.
I was hoping we'd get to this earlier. You have to walk us through the Victorian hat study, because when I read this part, I seriously had to put the book down and just stare at the wall for a minute.
It is a genuinely profound study, and it goes all the way back to 1911. 2 doctors, Holmes and Head.
Okay.
Now, you have to picture the era. 1911 fashion. Women are wearing these enormous, elaborate hats with feathers and just huge things.
Right, they're like satellite dishes made of felt and bird feathers.
That's a great way to put it. And these neurologists, they started noticing something peculiar in the women's behavior. When they walked through doorways, they would duck and weave and tilt their heads to avoid hitting the feathers on the doorframe.
That makes perfect sense. You don't want to ruin your hat. It's just spatial awareness.
Right. But here's the kicker. They observed these same women ducking and weaving through the doorways even when they weren't wearing the hats.
And that's the part that gets me. The hat was gone, but the behavior was still there.
It tells us something absolutely fundamental about how the brain maps the idea of self. The brain constructs what's called a body schema. It's an internal blueprint of how much space you take up in the world.
So for those women, the hat had become part of their body?
It had been integrated into that schema. Their brain's internal model said, I am 7 feet tall and 3 feet wide. So even when the physical reality changed, the internal map didn't update right away. They were navigating the world based on a ghost hat.
A ghost hat. That is such a vivid image, but it really makes you wonder, right? What ghost hats are we all wearing right now?
Well, let's apply it to modern life. Have you ever driven a big SUV for a long time, and then you switch to a tiny compact car, but you still take these really wide turns like you're driving a tank?
All the time.
That's your schema. It hasn't updated yet. Or think about phantom vibration syndrome. You feel your phone buzz in your pocket.
And your phone is on the table across the room.
Yes. Your brain has integrated the phone into your body schema so deeply that it actually hallucinates the sensation.
But this gets a lot darker, doesn't it? Trenton brings up a more recent study from 2013 by Dr. Branch Coslet about anorexia.
Yeah.
And this takes the concept from sort of a quirky hat behavior to something genuinely tragic.
It does. This study is heartbreaking, but it's scientifically so important. They observed women with anorexia as they navigated through a doorway. Now, objectively, these women were very thin. They could have easily walked through the doorframe side by side. There was plenty of room. But the study found that they would consistently turn their bodies sideways to squeeze through.
They were squeezing through a gap that wasn't even tight.
Because in their internal representation, in their body schema, they were larger than the opening. Their eyes saw the door, but their brain overruled the visual data with the internal narrative, which was, you are large. And the body obeyed the narrative, not the objective reality.
That right there, that is the crucial takeaway for me. We assume we act based on what is real, but we don't. We act based on the internal representation of what is real.
Correct. We are all living in a simulation that is created by our own brains. And this is where self-talk comes in as the key. Self-talk is the code that writes the simulation.
So if you tell yourself, I am clumsy, every day for 10 years.
You are actively updating your body schema. You will literally start to move with less grace. You'll be more hesitant, which actually makes you more likely to trip over something, which then confirms the bias. See, I knew I was clumsy.
It's a completely self-fulfilling feedback loop. And it seems like even the tiniest grammatical choices we make in that code can have a huge impact. There was this section on pronouns, research by Ethan Cross at the University of Michigan. It seems like such a trivial thing. Do I call myself I, or do I call myself you?
It seems trivial on the surface, but the neurological impact is absolutely massive. This is what's known as the Solomon paradox. Cross's research found that when people use the first-person pronoun, I, as in I'm so stressed out I don't know what to do, they're completely immersed in the feeling.
Right.
They're swimming in the emotion. The amygdala, which is the brain's fear center, it just lights up like a Christmas tree.
Because I implies it's happening to me right now.
Exactly. It's subjective, it's hot, emotionally speaking.
Yeah.
But if you switch to the second or third person, if you use your own name, something remarkable changes in the brain.
So if I say, okay, host, you're feeling stressed, but you have a plan.
As soon as you do that, the brain shifts gears. It creates what he calls linguistic distance.
So you're distancing yourself from yourself.
In a way, yes. You're tricking the brain into processing the problem as if it were happening to someone else. And we are all much, much better at giving advice to a friend than we are to ourselves, aren't we?
Oh, 1,000%. I'm brilliant when it's not my problem.
We all are. We're calmer, we're more rational, more objective with our friends. By using your own name, you were tapping into that wise advisor circuitry in your brain instead of the panicked victim circuitry.
I have to be honest, though. If I'm sitting at my desk, hyperventilating about a deadline, referring to myself in the third person feels, I don't know, it feels a little clinical, a little bit crazy. Host is doing a good job on this project. It feels awkward.
It feels incredibly awkward at first. It feels totally artificial. But that artificiality is actually the point.
How so?
You are intentionally trying to break the organic, natural flow of panic. You're forcing a cognitive shift. You're not doing it to sound cool. You're doing it as a neurobiological hack to move blood flow from the emotional reactive parts of your brain to the executive problem-solving parts.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a tool, not a personality trait. So we have the what and the how of the voice. But why is it so messy in there? Sometimes it doesn't feel like one voice at all. It feels more like a committee meeting where half the people hate each other.
That's a perfect description.
Yeah.
And Trenton brings up two major theories that help explain that chaos.
Okay.
If you feel like a committee, that aligns perfectly with a concept called dialogical self-theory, or DST.
Like dialogue.
Exactly. This theory argues that the self is not a monolith. It's not one thing. It's a society. You have different I positions.
With different characters playing roles in your head.
Precisely. You have the internal parent, who might be critical or might be nurturing. You have the inner child, who is impulsive or scared. You have the professional self, the partner self, the rebel self. And all of these characters have different goals and different values.
So the noise I'm hearing is just them arguing with each other.
Yes. Let's say it's Friday night. Your internal professional is saying, we really need to finish this report so we can get ahead for next week. But your internal rebel is saying, forget that, let's just order a pizza and watch a movie.
And then the internal critic chimes in and says, if you don't finish the report, you're lazy and you're going to get fired.
Exactly. And your self-talk is literally the transcript of that argument.
That actually makes me feel a bit more sane. The idea isn't that I'm broken. It's just that I have these conflicting but equally valid needs inside me.
That's the key. Conflict is natural in a society, and it's natural in a mind. The second theory is a bit more about how language itself works. It's called relational frame theory, or RFT.
Okay.
RFT basically says that the unique thing about human cognition is that we learn by relating things to other things. We build these massive, complex webs of meaning.
Can you give me a concrete example of how that works?
Sure. Let's take the word presentation. For a baby, that sound means nothing at all. But for you, maybe you had a bad experience in 5th grade where you stood up to give a book report and you forgot all your lines.
Oh, that's a painful memory.
So now your brain has built a frame relating the word presentation to the feeling of danger. Then it relates danger to shame, and then maybe shame to stomachache.
So now, 30 years later, I see the word presentation on my calendar, and I immediately get a stomachache without even thinking about it.
Exactly. You didn't choose that reaction. The relational frame fired automatically. The whole web just vibrated.
Right.
And self-talk is the thread that connects all those concepts together. The good news is because it's a web we built, we can technically unbuild it and rebuild it. But to do that, we have to deal with the hardware. We have to go back to the physical brain.
Let's get into the physiology, because I think this is the part that is the most frightening, but also maybe the most motivating. We always talk about neuroplasticity like it's this magical happy thing, you can rewire your brain. But Trenton points out that there's a dark side to neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity is completely value neutral. It's not good or bad. It just means the brain changes based on what you do repeatedly. The analogy he uses, which is perfect, is a hiking trail.
Okay.
If you walk the exact same path through a grassy field every single day, what happens? The grass dies, the dirt gets packed down, and pretty soon you have a clear, wide path. It becomes the path of least resistance.
And the brain absolutely loves the path of least resistance.
The brain is a massive energy hog. It consumes something like 20% of your daily metabolic energy, so it wants to save calories wherever it can. Firing a neural pathway that's already well-worn is cheap from an energy standpoint. Blazing a new trail is very expensive.
So if you've spent 20 years of your life thinking, I am not good enough, that's not a path anymore. That's a super highway in your brain. It's paved, it's lit, it has no speed limit.
It's the default route. And trying to think a new thought, like I am capable, is like trying to hack your way through a dense jungle with a dull machete.
That explains so much. That's why positive affirmations often fail at first. You say, I am confident, and your brain just looks at that overgrown jungle path and says, nah, that looks like way too much work. Let's just take the I'm a loser highway. We know where that goes.
It's just more efficient. But the physical consequence of taking that highway over and over, it's not just that you feel bad. You mentioned that negative thinking is correlated with actual physical arrested development in the brain.
Yeah, that part was chilling.
This is the frightening part. Chronic negative self-talk and the stress it produces are correlated with less neuronal density in the hippocampus, which is crucial for memory and learning, and in the left prefrontal cortex.
And what does the left prefrontal cortex do?
That's the part of the brain responsible for things like joy, optimism, and emotional regulation.
So wait a minute. By thinking negatively, we are literally shrinking the part of our brain that would help us be more positive.
You are dismantling the very hardware you would need to feel better. It's a truly vicious biological cycle. And then on top of that, you have to add the chemical bath.
Right, the cost-benefit analysis of a single thought.
Every single thought you have releases chemicals. A negative thought, one of fear or judgment or anger, it signals the hypothalamus in your brain. And the hypothalamus assumes there is a threat.
It doesn't know the threat is just an idea in my head. It thinks it's a tiger.
It assumes it's a tiger. It can't tell the difference. So it hits the big red panic button. The adrenal glands start pumping out catecholamines, dopamine, but in an anxious way, norepinephrine, and the big one, cortisol.
And cortisol is the big bad here, right?
Well, cortisol is fantastic if you actually need to run away from a bear. It mobilizes sugar into your blood for quick energy. It tenses your muscles. It shuts down non-essential functions like digestion and your immune system. It prepares you for war.
But if I'm sitting in an office chair thinking, I look fat in these pants, and I trigger a cortisol spike, I'm not running anywhere. I'm just sitting there.
You're just sitting there soaking in it. You're marinating your own organs in stress hormones.
And that leads to...
By what?
What?
Chronic inflammation, a suppressed immune system, high blood pressure, digestive issues. Your body is reacting to a mean thought exactly as it would react to a physical infection or a physical attack. You are biologically under siege from your own mind.
If the biological cost is that high, why hasn't evolution fixed this? It seems like a massive design flaw. Why do we default to the negative?
It's a survival feature that just hasn't been updated for the modern world. This is the concept of the negativity bias. For our ancient ancestors on the savannah, the cost of missing a positive signal like, say, a bush of delicious berries was relatively low. You miss lunch, you're hungry for a bit. The cost of missing a negative signal, like the rustle in the grass that might be a predator, was fatal.
You are lunch.
You are lunch. So the brain became wired to prioritize and overlearn from negative experiences because that's what kept us alive.
So the brain basically treats negative information as high-priority data.
Exactly. It requires more processing power to analyze, and it sticks around longer in your memory. The old saying is the brain is like Velcro for the bad and Teflon for the good. We are literally the descendants of the most paranoid, anxious ancestors. The happy-go-lucky ones got eaten.
That makes so much sense. But we're not dodging lions anymore. We're dodging passive-aggressive emails. And Trenton argues that this ancient hardware gets programmed by our childhoods. He talks about the not enough core belief.
This is the root rot. If you dig down deep enough, most negative self-talk eventually hits this bedrock belief of, I am not enough.
Not smart enough, not pretty enough, not successful enough.
Not productive enough. It's the core wound for so many people.
And obviously, things like abusive parents or bullies can install that belief, that's clear. But there was one point he made that really surprised me. He said that coddling parents can also create this. How does being treated like a prince or princess lead to negative self-talk?
It seems totally counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But think about the subtext. If a parent does absolutely everything for you, they tie your shoes until you're 10, they fight all your battles with teachers, they never let you fail at anything, what is the unspoken message?
The message is, you can't do it yourself.
The message is, you are incompetent. You cannot handle the world on your own. You need me to survive.
Oof. So the child internalizes, I am incapable.
Exactly. It creates a profound lack of self-efficacy. So when they grow up, their inner critic says, don't try that new thing. You'll definitely fail. You're weak, remember. It comes from a place of learned helplessness, even though it was wrapped in love.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem in excruciating detail. We know the biology, the history, the evolution. Now I really want to shift gears into the solution, but Trenton doesn't just say, hey, stop it. He offers a hierarchy, a ladder to climb, the 5 levels of self-talk.
This is such a great framework because it helps you locate yourself on the map. You can't get to your destination if you don't know where you are right now.
Let's walk through these slowly because I think listeners are going to recognize themselves in different levels depending on the day or even the topic. Level 1 is the absolute basement, negative, harmful.
This is the level of complete resignation. It's not just having a negative thought. It's accepting that negative thought as the absolute, unchangeable truth.
So examples would be like, I can't do this. I'm just a bad public speaker. I wish I could just disappear.
Yes, it feels incredibly heavy. There is no fight left in level 1. It's total surrender to the critic. I am a failure is stated as a fact with the same certainty as the sky is blue.
Okay. Then we take one step up the ladder to level 2. And this is where I think a lot of us live, especially people who are into self-improvement. The recognition of need, or as he calls it, the should.
The tyranny of the should. I really should go to the gym. I need to be more organized. I should stop scrolling on my phone so much.
That sounds better, though. I mean, at least you know there's a problem you want to fix.
It sounds better on the surface, but it's a very subtle trap. Level 2 identifies the problem, but it offers no solution. It just creates guilt.
How so?
When you say, I should, what you are implicitly saying is, but I am not. It just constantly highlights the gap between who you are right now and who you think you ought to be. And that gap feels like failure. It's a level of chronic, low-grade dissatisfaction.
That is so true. Just feels like a backpack full of rocks you have to carry around. So how do we drop the rocks? We move to level 3, the decision to change.
This is the pivot point. This is a massive shift. This is where you stop describing the problem and you start describing the exit. The key language here is often no longer or never.
Can you give me an example of that shift from a should to a decision?
Okay, so level 2 is I should stop eating so much junk food. Level 3 is I no longer eat poison.
Whoa.
Level 2 is I should speak up for myself more. Level 3 is I never silence myself for the comfort of others.
It's so declarative. It's like you're drawing a line in the sand.
It's a refusal to accept the old programming anymore. It's framed in the present tense, but it's about stopping the old behavior. It's like clearing the ground so you can build something new. Which brings us to level 4.
Level 4, the new identity.
This is the software update. This is where you install the new program. This is the language of I am a healthy ear. I am a confident speaker. I am an organized person.
That one can sound a little bit like fake it till you make it.
It can feel that way at first, but remember the body schema. You are giving your brain a new blueprint. You're telling your brain, hey, this is who we are now. And the brain, which is a very obedient engine, starts to look for evidence to support that new identity. It starts to align your behavior with the I am statement.
And finally, there's level 5, the penthouse suite, universal affirmation.
This is the Zen level. It's where you transcend the ego entirely. It's not about being good or bad anymore. It's just about being.
So the language would be something like, I accept what is, or I am one with the universe. I trust the flow of life.
Exactly. It sounds a little lofty, and it's very hard to maintain when you're, stuck in rush hour traffic.
Right.
It's aspirational. But even just touching that state for a moment can be a profound relief. It's where you accept both the negative and the positive as just part of the whole tapestry of life.
Okay, so we want to climb this ladder, but we can't just leap from level 1 to level 4. We need a set of tools. So let's open the toolkit. Part 4 is all about awareness. You can't fix a car if you don't even know what's broken under the hood.
Awareness is the absolute prerequisite. Most of us are swimming in level 1 and level 2 self-talk all day long, and we don't even know we're wet. We need to develop metacognition,
Which is a fancy word for.
thinking about your thinking. It's the ability to step back and observe your own mental processes without getting caught up in them.
So Trenton suggests a specific practice for this, the 3-minute responsive breathing space. Now, I've tried a lot of meditation apps, and usually my mind just wanders off. How is this different?
It's very structured. It's like mental triage for a spiraling mind. It's 3 distinct steps, 1 minute each. Step 1 is attend.
Okay, what are we attending to?
You're attending to the current state of affairs inside you. You just pause and ask, what is the weather inside my head right now? You don't try to change it or fix it. If you're angry, you just note, okay, there's anger present. My chest feels tight. You're stepping out of the river and just standing on the bank, watching the water flow by.
Okay, so that's minute 1. Step 2 is narrow.
Now you zoom the lens all the way in. For 1 minute, you focus entirely on the physical sensation of the breath, the feeling of the cool air at your nostrils, the rise and fall of your belly. This is the anchor. It pulls you out of the story in your head and into the physical reality of your body. It breaks the rumination loop.
And then step 3, expand.
For the last minute, you widen the lens back out. You feel your whole body sitting in the chair, your posture, you notice the sounds in the room. You take that stability you found in the breath and you expand it to the whole container of your experience. It's a quick and powerful reset button.
Once we become more aware, we start to see these recurring patterns. Trenton calls them cognitive distortions. These are the specific, predictable lies that the inner critic tells. I want to deep dive into a few of these because I think listeners are going to cringe with recognition.
Oh, they are the greatest hits of self-sabotage. You'll definitely hear your own voice in these.
Okay, let's start with filtering.
Filtering is a classic, especially for high achievers. Imagine you give a presentation at work. 50 people come up to you afterward and tell you it was amazing, a home run, but one guy in the back row was checking his watch. You go home that night, and what do you think about?
The watch guy. Obviously, it's the only thing I'll think about.
Right. You filter out the 50 compliments. They don't count. You zoom in with a microscope on the one tiny piece of potentially negative data. You actively distort reality to confirm your pre-existing fear that you aren't good enough.
Okay, what about mind reading? I do this constantly.
This is the distortion where you assume you have telepathic powers, but you can only read negative thoughts.
Right.
You walk into a room, the conversation stops for a second, and you immediately think, they were just talking about me. You send an important email to your boss, she doesn't reply for 2 hours, and your brain goes, she hates the email, I'm getting fired.
And the reality is what?
The reality is she was in a back-to-back meeting, or she was eating a sandwich. But you project your own insecurity onto her silence and treat it as a fact.
Okay, and one more. Catastrophizing.
This is the runaway train of anxiety. You feel a little tickle in your throat. Thought 1, oh no, I have a cold. Thought 2, I'll miss the big meeting on Friday. Thought 3, if I miss the meeting, I'll lose the client. Thought 4, if I lose the client, I'll lose my job. Thought 5, I'll be homeless and living under a bridge.
Yeah.
You go from a sore throat to homelessness in about 4 seconds.
It's exhausting. So how do we catch these things in the wild? Trenton has this really clever low-tech tool called the paperclip technique.
I love this because it's so analog, it's physical. At the start of the day, you put a handful of paper clips, say 20 in your left pocket.
Okay.
Every single time you catch yourself having a negative thought or using one of these distortions, you physically move one clip from your left pocket to your right pocket.
You don't even try to stop the thought.
Not yet. The first step is just to count it. This is pure data collection. At the end of the day, you empty your right pocket onto the table. You might have 50 clips in there.
Yeah.
And it becomes this visual, tangible representation of how mean you are to yourself.
That's a real wake-up call. You look at that pile of metal and think, wow, I attacked myself 50 times today. I would never let anyone else talk to me like that.
It is so powerful. Okay, so we have the data, we have the pile of clips. Now we need to fight back. Part 5, action. And this is where we get into the nuts and bolts of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy.
The gold standard for this stuff.
It is. The core premise is that famous triad. Your thoughts create your feelings, which in turn drive your behaviors. So if you want to change the behavior, like avoiding social situations, or the feeling, like anxiety, you have to go upstream and change the thought that started it all.
So Trenton gives us a 3-step process. Step 1 is observe. We've covered that. Catch the thought. Look for those trigger words like always, never, idiot.
Step 2 is the game changer. Challenge. You have to turn your brain into a courtroom.
You have to become your own defense attorney.
Exactly. Or a scientist. You put the negative thought on the witness stand and you cross-examine it. Let's take the thought, I always mess up presentations. You challenge the word always. Always. Is that statement factually true? Did you mess up the one you gave last month? Well, no, that one was actually okay. Okay, so the word always is a lie. Strike it from the record. You demand hard evidence.
Objection, Your Honor. The prosecution is speculating and using inflammatory language.
Exactly. You stop accepting the thought as a final verdict, and you start treating it as a hypothesis. And usually it's a really bad one that wouldn't hold up in court.
And after you've challenged it, step 3 is replace.
Right. You can't just leave a vacuum where the old thought was. You have to consciously insert a new script. But, and this is so important, the new script has to be believable.
So you can't go from I'm a total failure to I am the god of success?
Your brain will reject that immediately. There's like a bad organ transplant. The new thought has to be more balanced.
So what's a better replacement for I always mess up presentations?
Something like, I felt like I struggled with parts of that presentation, but I am learning and I have also succeeded in the past. It's grounded in reality, it's neutral, and it's gently optimistic.
But sometimes, let's be real, the spiral is just too fast. You can't just stop and play lawyer in your head because you're already halfway to a panic attack. Trenton has some emergency brakes for this. Thought stopping.
This is brute force.
Yeah.
You need a strong sensory interrupt to break the loop. Some people famously wear a rubber band on their wrist and give it a hard snap.
Ouch. You're saying physical pain.
It works. That sharp sting pulls your attention away from the abstract worry in your head and anchors it immediately to the physical reality of your wrist. It literally snaps you out of the trance.
What if you don't want to do that?
You can visualize a massive flashing red STOP sign in your mind. Or you can literally shout STOP key inside your head, or even out loud if you're alone. The point is to derail the train of thought.
And once you've derailed it, you need to distract the brain so it doesn't just jump right back on the tracks. He mentions a technique called scattered counting. Why scattered? Why not just count 1, 2, 3?
Because if you just count 1, 2, 3, 4, your brain can do that on autopilot while simultaneously still worrying about your divorce. It takes zero cognitive load. But if I ask you to count backwards from 100 by 7s...
193, 86. Okay, wow, I actually have to think about that.
Exactly. Or you can count random numbers. 43, 8, 112, 19. Your brain has to engage the prefrontal cortex, the logic center, to generate those numbers. It literally steals blood flow and energy away from the amygdala, the fear center.
So you can't panic and do complex math at the same time.
It is a biological impossibility. The circuits are mutually exclusive.
That is an amazing life hack. Next time I'm spiraling, I'm just going to start doing subtraction.
It works every single time.
Okay, let's move to the final piece of the puzzle, lifestyle. Because we can't just be fighting these battles one thought at a time. We need to create an overall environment where the inner critic has a harder time breathing.
We need to change the culture of the mind. And one exercise that I absolutely love from the book is the job description exercise.
This is my favorite part of the whole book. It's so clever.
It is. You take out a piece of paper and you literally write a job description for your inner critic. As if this voice were an employee you had hired. What is its role? What are its duties?
Okay, let me try. Job title, Chief Joy Killer. Duties include waking the host up at 3 a.m. to remind him of an embarrassing thing he said in 2004, also pointing out any new wrinkles in the mirror, and ensuring the host never feels fully confident before a big meeting.
Exactly. And when you see it written down on paper, it's completely absurd. You realize this is a terrible employee. They are toxic, they're insubordinate, and they are actually really bad at their supposed job of protecting me.
It gives you the distance to say, you're fired, or at the very least, I'm demoting you to the mailroom.
Thank you for your input, but we've decided to go in a different direction with this project.
And that new direction has to be self-compassion. Now, I want to clarify something here, because I think people often confuse self-compassion with self-esteem. And Trenton is very clear that they're very, very different things.
They are critically different. Our culture, especially Western culture, is obsessed with self-esteem. But self-esteem is incredibly fragile
Why?
because it's contingent on external worth. It's comparative. I feel good about myself because I am the best, because I won the award, because I'm prettier than her. It requires you to always be above average.
But by definition, we can't all be above average all the time. And what happens when you fail?
Your self-esteem crashes. It just evaporates. It abandons you at the exact moment you need it most. Self-compassion, on the other hand, is completely different. It is not based on evaluation at all. It's based on our shared humanity. It asks, can I be kind to myself even when I fail, even when I'm perfectly average?
So it's the difference between a fair weather friend and a ride or die friend.
That's a perfect analogy. The research he cites shows that self-compassion is far more durable and a much better predictor of emotional regulation than self-esteem, precisely because it doesn't require winning. It's there for you when you lose.
So the ultimate practical test that Trenton gives is really simple. It's the best friend test.
It's the golden rule, but just inverted. When you find yourself in that negative spiral, beating yourself up, you just pause and ask one simple question. Would I say this to my best friend?
Right. If my best friend got fired from their job, would I go over to their house and say, well, that's because you're a worthless loser and you'll probably never work again?
No, you'd be a monster if you did that. You'd say, I am so sorry this happened, this hurts, but you are talented, you are resilient, and we're going to figure this out together.
But we say the monster stuff to ourselves all the time.
All day long. And the rule is simple. If you would not say it to someone you love, you are not allowed to say it to yourself. Period. End of story.
It sounds so simple, but that is a radical, life-altering shift.
It is. It's a conscious decision to finally be on your own team.
So let's bring this all home. We've covered a massive amount of ground. We started with the ghost hat, the idea that our self-talk literally creates a physical map of our reality. We looked at the biology, how negative thoughts carve superhighways in the brain and flood our bodies with inflammation.
We climbed the 5 levels of self-talk, moving from the resignation of I can't to the identity of I am. We built a whole toolkit. Mindfulness to catch the thoughts, the paperclip method to count them, and the CBT lawyer to cross-examine and challenge them. And we landed on the core philosophy of self-compassion.
So here is the challenge for you, listening right now. Just pick one tool. That's it. Just one. Maybe tomorrow you do the paperclip challenge. Just get the data. Just count the negativity. Or maybe the next time you feel that wave of stress, you try using your own name. Just once. Sarah, you've got this.
See what happens. Just test the machinery for yourself.
Trenton's core message at the end of the day is that you are the author. The voice in your head is loud, it's persistent, but it is not the boss. You are the boss. You can pick up the red pen and edit the script. And if the brain believes whatever you tell it most consistently, why not tell it a story of resilience? Why not tell it a story of worth?
The pen is in your hand.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. Go have a better conversation with yourself. We'll see you next time.